There's one thing that prevents me from buying a lens, one big thing. It's not like how sharp it is or anything like that. It is distortion. If a lens has distortion in any major way whatsoever, I don't want the lens. Like that's my cut line, that's it. Because when the software has to correct distortion, you're losing resolution, you're losing quality. Yeah, no matter what you say, I know there's a bunch of you pros that are 22 years old that know a lot more than me, but it's a fact. It's just, you lose quality when a software has to fix the distortion in a lens. Now, that being said, today I'm using the Sony 40mm f2.5. Love this lens. Very minimal distortion. It's sharp, it's lightweight, it's small. I love this thing. It's my first time trying it. I purchased it. Couldn't wait to get it. This is the perfect setup for me. I love this. I love a 50. That's my favorite lens. 35 I like, and I was using it a lot more. Combine these things together, and it's pretty close to, you know, even ground. I'm also going to be using the Sony HVL-46. Love this flash, lightweight, easy to use, with the MagMod MagBounce, or what? No, I don't know what sphere. MagSphere. I just called the boob. Anyway, I'll be using this handheld like this. This is my favorite setup. I love this Sony remote. I wish it was a little smaller, but it just works. I don't care about the AA batteries. I know people always say, well, if they didn't have AA, the batteries last me forever. I have no issues with them. I love this setup. Anyway, let's get to the shoot, see how we do with this kind of setup. We'll walk you through any kind of like issues that I have or mistakes that I make, and how easy it is to use. Remember, TTL with this setup is so good. You know, I've been using the Godox for the last couple of shoots, and I love the Godox flashes. Don't get me wrong, I don't like their color shifts, but if I'm using one flash, it doesn't matter. But I hate their TTL. It's just horrible, horrible TTL. Always way underexposed, and then it fluctuates so much. You know, if I put it at a +1, I get the right exposure. Unless I move closer, then it's the wrong exposure again. So it's just too weird for me. This, I'm always getting the right exposure. Anyway, I'll shut up now. Let's get to the shoot and have fun.
Now, we're going to go over the flash and the lens, but I really want to go over some mistakes in photos, because I think you can learn a lot more from the mistakes than you can, the successes. Like this one, the backdrop, that's just a horrible photo. She looks great in it, but the backdrop and everything is too busy. It takes away from her, so I moved to get rid of that. Now, this one here, she's so crunched up. Her neck is crunched up. It's not flattering whatsoever. We want a long neck. She has to drop that shoulder down, and that wrist, it's just like, I don't want to say arthritic, but it's just a bad look. We have to soften each of these. We have to pull that neck just a little bit so it's a little bit longer, a little bit softer. It's still not there yet. That shoulder could have been dropped more. The hand is a little bit better, but we want more natural poses, and you have to look for these little things. You can have the best photo in the world. It's like the perfect photo, and you wonder why wouldn't they pick that photo? Like this, the back of the hand, it's flat. It makes her hand look huge. It's not a bad photo, but when a client sees that, they notice something off with the photo and they don't like it. Now, this one here is straight cropping issues. All I had to do was have her bend her wrist a little bit or bend her elbow a little bit and move in rather than having that whole wide open space. Now, I love open space photos, but not when a limb is pressed out. This is a little bit better. It's a little bit more relaxed, but look at this. All I had to move was that little thing over to the left, and I don't have to worry about it in Photoshop later. It takes away from the image. It sticks out. Notice these little things that your client will be bothered by. You may not be bothered by because you're paying attention to the lighting, to the settings, to the backdrop, but you've got to pay attention to your client, how they look, and those little things that may bother them. I know it's kind of hard to figure out at times, and showing them on the back of the screen is not them seeing in the computer. You got to remember that. When they see them on the computer, where they see them in print, that's when it bothers them because they can actually see it. It's big enough to see it. Little screen on back of the camera, they're not going to notice these little things. That's why, so many photographers tether so they can see it on a big screen and notice these little things. These little issues that you don't pay attention to are going to bother the model. Now, this one here, her head is up too high for the angle I'm shooting at, and her eyes are bright like she's a deer in headlights. And that back of the hand that's flat, again, makes it look big. A little bit of a curve, tilt that head down just a little bit, and you're there. These little things matter. Again, back of the screen, you're going to see them all the time. You have to train yourself to see them. Once you see them, something as simple as a necklace being to the side, or a clasp being down, believe it or not, that bothers some clients, and they won't say anything. Like a crinkly neck, they're not going to talk about it. They're just going to think, "Oh, wow, I don't like this." Double chin, that kind of stuff. You got to pay attention to these little things. Make them look good at all times. That should be your first goal, not your lighting, not your aperture, not your settings. You got to make sure the model looks good, and that is key. Pay attention. Now, this lens and this flash setup I love, by the way. I just wanted to get that in there. This here is saying plain and simple. The hand, it's coming out, it looks bigger. The fingers look like they're stiff and awkward. It just, the head is up too high. These little tiny things, put them all back, soften her up just a little bit, tilt that head down. That hand is still awkward and stiff. It's just like she has long fingers, and just a little bit of a curve will soften them just a hair. I love that side light. I like the shadow on the right side of her head, but because she's wearing what she's wearing, I'm getting that odd shadow down by her chest area. It just doesn't look good. Bring that flash back in for these kind of shots. You have to notice what you're doing with what they're wearing and how the photos look. Just pay attention to that little stuff. I love this couch down here, but I hate the backdrop. I hate that pole going through her head. These little things bug the crap out of me. And I always, try to shoot on this couch and never get great shots from it. So this time I'm laying her down, and lay down shots are fantastic. I love them. But, I'm going to crop into a 4x3. I always crop into a 4x3 in case they want an 8x10 photo or something like that. Now, the first thing I did wrong is it's an awkward, stiff neck. The hand, I'm cutting out the fingers. Now, normally I don't mind a little bit of the finger cut off, but since this is an elongated photo, it kind of shortens it. It kind of makes it look even shorter than it is. So it bothers me. This one here, she tilted her head down because it was up too high, but now she has that tiny wrinkle. Yes, you can fix it in Photoshop, but it's going to still look tight and stiff. Elongate that neck, make it look a little bit more natural. I'm adding the fingers back in, and the photo doesn't look as short now. Like little key things like this really do matter. Pay attention to them. Now, as far as this, this is the HVL-46 Flash. It's a step down from their 60. It has power. It looks great. It works great. The 4AA batteries lasted me without an issue for this entire shoot. And that 40mm lens, the 2.5 is fantastic. I know everybody wants 1.2 and 1.4 and stuff like that, but I love this lens, the lightweight, the quality. Now, when I'm shooting at the closest distance, there's another flat hand thing that I missed. Just a little bit of a turn, it would have been a great photo. But that, trust me, clients won't tell you. They'll just say, "Nah, that's not for me. I don't like that one." And sometimes they won't even know why. They just see it and they just don't like it. Anyway, getting back to the lens, this 42.5, like when I'm shooting it at the absolute closest distance, it does fall off a little bit in sharpness, but not enough to make me not want to use it. I do love this lens. The weight, the size, the sharpness, the quality, I love it. It works, and it is so good for people. So don't disregard, the inexpensive lenses, because sometimes you find gems like this that are just fantastic. And carrying this around for this whole shoot was nothing. Another thing, that flash with the little MagSphere, I usually use just a bare flash, and I don't use this kind of diffuser on my flash all the time. But there's some events I use it for, and sometimes in the studio like this, I just like it for handheld walking around kind of stuff. It works. Now, outdoor and sun, I would rather use a bare flash so I get the more power out of the flash. But indoors or overcast, this is going to work fine, and it did. It actually worked fantastic. and being handheld, you can just move it in different directions. You can put it right in front of the camera, right in front of the lens kind of thing, or off to the sides and get those, shadows to pull out the jaw lines and the cheekbones. There's so many things you can do with it, and having it straight on like this, a flatter lighting, something that is really, really flattering. You have to try it, practice it, and play with it. It is a lot of fun to shoot like this, and no stands, no big, modifiers. It's fun. And shadows like that give you depth. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I never have a shadow in my photos. Like, life isn't like that. We have shadows. We see them every day. They're normal. You have to remember that. When everything is perfect, it doesn't look normal. It looks perfect. Throw some art into this. This is bare flash now. This is straight bare flash. I love it. You can see the little bit harder shadow and stuff, but the look is fantastic. It works for this outfit. It works for this kind of shot. Putting it right by that lens, I'm hiding the shadows just a little bit, but the shadows that are there doesn't bother me one bit. Now, I went for the back to the sphere because I wanted to get some soft lighting, give that jawline some shadow, and it worked out great. And that's considered flat lighting, but the shoot went well. Anyway, I hope you learned something from this, from my mistakes. If you have any questions, leave them below.